Hi, my name's David Swanson, and today is March 16th, 2017. Just to verify that is the date, we'll use Google. What is today?
It is Thursday, the 16th of March, 2017.
I purchased this RV the end of October 31st, 2016. That means I've had it roughly December, January, February, 4 months, roughly. And I've done a few trips. I've done a trip from Orlando, Florida to Rancho Cucamonga, California. That was the longest trip. That was about a month after I left Orlando, Florida on December 19th or 20th. And I took I-75 to, no, I'm sorry, the Turnpike to I-75, I-75 to I-10, I-10 all the way over into California to I-210, and I-210 to my brother's house. Did that in 4 days. All interstate or the Turnpike the entire way. From there, I made a couple trips to Sawtooth Canyon in Barstow, which was less than 100 miles away. A trip to Wrightwood, California, which was less than, I think, 60 miles away from my brother's house. And then to Idlewild, California, where I am right now, which is less than 100 miles from my brother's house. So it's been just a very few trips that I've used this RV in the last 4 months, and I've had numerous things that are wrong with it. And when I say numerous, this is beyond normal. This is beyond abnormal. This is absurd what is going on with this, and I'm getting no help. I've been told that I can take it to a dealership and I would have to wait a month to 2 months, whatever their wait time is, to get it fixed. Even though I'm making monthly payments on it, I was told that I'll be compensated in some way after everything's fixed. Not before, but after, so go ahead and get things fixed. They told me to check with Camping World here by Rancho Cucamonga, California, where I'm located at. Called all the Camping Worlds. They don't service Forest Rivers anymore. There's only one that's down by San Diego. I have 2 dogs with me. I would have to cut my trip short and go back to Orlando so I could go back into my house. This is the first vacation I've had in 7 years. I have 2 dogs and a cat with me. I spoke to who they also then recommended Giant RV. Giant RV said they would not take me. They are too full. Unless I bought it from them, they're not going to service me. They referred me over to a sister company. They said that's a Giant RV as well, and they said they could get me in about a month and a half, but they'll only fix 4 items at a time. And I would have to leave it for up to a month while they fix those 4 items, because they'll get it done. They pull it in as they can, fix it, and then give it back to me, which would mean that I wouldn't have an RV. If I fixed it 4 items at a time, I wouldn't have an RV for a couple of years, most likely, even though I'm making monthly payments on it. So let's go through all the things that are going on with this RV. I'm going to bring up my notes. I have a checklist that we're going to go through, and we're going to start with the living room. The first is the speaker system. Got a Jensen speaker system. Let's turn on the radio.
Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in March is your chance.
Okay, that's the indoor speakers. Indoor speakers work just fine. Outdoor speakers, that's the outdoor speaker. Let me show you which side that's coming on.
Everybody go to play. If you're searching for the perfect place to go for spring break, there's only one place to go. The Riverside.
But no sound on, which if I'm facing the RV on the right side. So the B is supposed to control the left speakers from what I understand. So let's turn off the B speakers so you can see that up here it will say A, B, and C, and there's no speakers on. Let's turn on C, which should be controlling that speaker, and there's no sound. And I can turn it up as high as I can. I've taken this off, and there's just no way. I've tried everything to figure out how to make that work, and there's just nothing. I don't know if the cable's missing. They just never wired it. But the right speaker facing the RV does not work. The other thing is,
Keeper, don't have
go ahead and turn that off. Okay, let me go back to my notes. Alright, now let's talk about the sunroof. This is sloppy, and I'm going to point the camera up towards the sunroof. Sorry about the videography. There's styrofoam all inside the sunroof. This is inside. And there's no way to clean this out. It is they use Dicor on top, which is caulk. So there's no way. This is just absolutely sloppy. So when you're looking up through your sunroof, all you see is styrofoam. It's like no quality control. And we're going to talk about quality control even more, but that's just sloppy, and there's no way to clean it other than I have to take off all the caulking, or again, that would be one item to have fixed. Here's another huge thing. This is the one thing that makes me, that was the first thing I discovered, makes me extremely mad. I bought this at Orlando RV in Orlando, Florida, in Winter Park, Florida, and they gave me a quick walkthrough because it was rush hour traffic and they were trying to get me out as soon as possible. They had two RVs parked on either side of my RV, so I couldn't put the slide out. But the guy told me all you have to do is just press this button. It's super easy. The slide out goes out. It's nothing hard. That was my training on the slide out. Did not know this, but when you put out the slide out is gouging the floors. This is ripped into the floors on each side. This side's even worse. It's on the same panel, same side. Spoke with Forest River. They said there's a piece of wood sticking down, that they've seen this before, piece of wood sticking down that's doing it. And it's tearing up the floor. My brand new RV that I wanted to show off to my family, my friends, the neighbors, friends, family cannot believe that. And they knew this. I mean, this happens every single time when you put out the slide out. So where was the quality control? Who missed this? This isn't something that you can easily miss. And Orlando RV knew that too. That's why I can guarantee you that's why they put RVs on both sides, so I couldn't put out the slide out until I got home. And then when I got home and told them, they said, well, it'll be a 2-month wait to get in to fix it. Now when you put the slide out as well, the faceplate, and we'll go over to the other side, gets torn off. It's because I've put out the slide out, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times. This one has completely fallen off and chipped off and broke. This one over here is doing the same thing, and I'm doing my best to, when I put out the slide out, to hold it or use my foot to hold it, because it's really hard with one person, so this doesn't fall out, but it's already coming off the wall. All right. So now this is where I sit and I work while I'm on vacation. I work about 4 hours a day. I do computer programming, web design, and this is where I sit. I'm the only person in here, and it's only been 4 months, and exactly where I'm sitting, and it's just me. I weigh 142 pounds. The string or the stitching in the cushion is coming off. I keep having to cut it. And it's starting on the other cushion as well, but very little, but just a little bit. But I'm sure if someone was sitting there, it would have been just as bad as this. When I got the RV, there was no filter in the AC. Did not come with a filter. All the wires were exposed. There's no filter that you can buy, so I went to Lowe's and just had to buy and I'll tip it up here because I don't want to open it because it's hard to get it close, but I just bought a normal filter and cut it to the shape of this, and that's what I had to use for a filter, because it never came with a filter, and it was supposed to come with an AC filter. Alright. As you can see, I use this to hold pins and the remotes, but the screws keep popping out. And I've lost screws, so I've had to put, and I don't know if you can see, no, I've got it screwed in pretty well. Now, I had to put anchors in. There's no anchors in these screws. It's just, it's pretty hollow, and they just screwed the screws, these little, not even probably a quarter of an inch screws into this, and you are expected to put your pins and your remotes, and the screws are popping out and breaking the wood. So I had to go to Lowe's and buy anchors and stick anchors in and fix the problem. So why they never put anchors in there, that's ridiculous. I mean, obviously the screws are going to pop out. Alright, this one makes me really angry. This is the pantry. The pantry does not, this is supposed to go in and lock into place. Most of the time it will not lock into place. You have to, I've bent it up far enough where it will, but you have to slam it in to get it. Like if I push it, it's doing it now, but most of the time it will not lock into place, or it will just come out while you're driving, and it's broken off up here so that when you're driving, let me show you what happens, and you pull it out for the first time, lock it. Okay. This gets broken up here, and you have to slide it oh, that's how it, let's see, I forget how it breaks. Okay, yep. So when you're driving and this comes off, oh, I can't do this with one hand. See. Okay. That's all the further it'll come out. You have to come here, because this broke off, you have to come here, push that up, and then it'll work. And then again, it's working right now, but most of the time it doesn't. I have to keep bending this to fix it. When I was driving up here to Idlewild, again, this just came loose, and I had syrup here, and the syrup completely spilt over, and I had a whole, and a bigger bottle than this, of brand new Vermont syrup inside everything, which took, if you've ever cleaned up syrup, think of cleaning up a whole huge bottle of syrup inside a pantry that you have to try to get to the back of. This, went to open it, and it's broken. This has came off, and you can push it back in, and it'll just break back off. I've tried putting a little bit of wood glue to fix it, keeps coming off. So it's pretty much useless. We'll talk about all these screws in a moment, but so I find screws all the time, and we'll talk about that in a second. But this one comes right off, came right off, and it, oh, let me grab it here. But you can't, it doesn't, you can't push it back on. I've tried every way possible, to the point of where I've actually pushed in the metal on this, trying to get this to go back on. Alright, kitchen sink cover. I mean, I've had it for 4 months, and it's already doing this. That's the sink cover. And I dry the sink, I keep it as clean as possible. I mean, probably a lot better than most people would. And that's already doing that. the refrigerator. Right now I have the refrigerator on high, and that's the coldest it gets. And most of the time when it's on gas propane, it won't go in even on the highest. It stays in the yellow, where I've had family and friends come over and ask why the food is cold. I'm sorry, warm, and it's in the danger zone. It's usually about 43 degrees, and that's having the refrigerator on the highest setting, which is right now. Electric, it keeps it in the normal zone, but it's only because it's on the highest setting. Where the freezer, because I have it on the highest setting, the freezer works perfectly fine and is way, because I have it such on a high setting, it's way down in the safe zone. It's what, 7 degrees? And I've checked everything saying, well, maybe your RV is not level. Well, it's perfectly level. Microwave, when I turn on the microwave at times, when I use the convention oven and just do warming, it makes a high squealing noise. My mom was here this weekend and she thought the thing was going to blow up. Nothing's inside of it. You just hit convection and set the degree that you want to do the pre-warm, like 375, hit start. The plate's rotating and it's a high-pitched squealing sound. Does it sometimes? Sometimes it doesn't. But when it does, it sounds like the thing's going to blow up. Okay, over here, my drawer that I keep my socks and underwear in, it doesn't shut. This latch here has broken, and I'm pretty gentle with it. I've tried to get it open with a screwdriver. I cannot get it. The latch, I can't get the latch to fix. So I have to tie a string to keep this drawer shut when I'm driving. Over here in the bedroom, this side railing, I keep pushing back in, but it keeps coming off. And it's bent. The bathroom, when I got it, when I turned on the AC for the first time, no cold air was coming through this. Oh, you can see it. There's more now. There's styrofoam inside. Let me see if I can tuck the camera up where you can see inside that there's loose styrofoam, and it keeps, that's not even loose, that's just breaking off. I keep getting styrofoam in here, chunks of styrofoam, which blocks the cool air, so I have to keep pulling the styrofoam out. The heater, found this when I was driving to California. Heater worked perfectly fine. The next day in the bathroom, there's a heater vent down here. Now there's very little heat coming through. I mean, it's like a wisp of heat. You can feel just if you put your hand here, you can barely feel any heat or hot air coming through. I've taken this off, looked for styrofoam. I'm guessing styrofoam is blocked up inside there, is my best guess. I just can't find it, but it worked perfectly fine for the first couple times I used the heater. Now, hardly any, I mean, it's just, you can just barely know that there's heat coming through there. Just because it's cold so cold in the bathroom, and you put your hand down there, you can just feel a little bit of warmth coming through that. Which kind of scares me too on regarding the fire. Main TV. When we did the demo, when we walked through, no sound was coming through the TV. We couldn't get the sound to work through the speaker system. So the guy that did it at Orlando RV said, oh, let me get a optical cable. And so he got an optical cable and was able to route the sound through the optical cord instead of the HDMI. He had no idea why he couldn't get it to work. He said everyone else's works that way, but it doesn't. I said it didn't matter to me if it worked through the HDMI or optical, as long as I had sound and it worked just fine. So that worked. However, comes to find out, when you're not connected to shore power, the TV will not work. And when I say it will not work, it works for a second, and then all of a sudden you'll start getting all these squiggly lines through the TV. If you shake it a little bit, it comes back on for a second, and then again, gone. I called Forest River. Forest River said, oh, it's one of those large TVs. It's not made to run on 12 volt. Well, first of all, I disagree. First, it does work on 12 volt for a couple seconds until all these squiggly lines start coming, and then you have to shake it, and then it comes back on for a little bit. Not only that, but it's a 12 volt TV. Here's the 12 volt plug. I've tried everything. I've tried increasing the amperage to it. Nothing works with, I mean, yeah, okay, maybe it drains the battery a little bit quicker, but it should at least last a little longer, especially since it's a 12 volt TV. So why would it be a 12 volt TV if it can't work on 12 volt? It makes absolutely no sense. And I'm guessing that there is something wrong with the TV since the sound didn't work. Okay, so inside the cockpit. Before I left for California, I took this up to Ocala. There's a certified RV weighing station there, because I wanted to have the RV completely weighed with everything that I had inside the RV to make sure I was underweight. And driving there, that was my first trip, which was about 60 miles away. Found out my left blinker didn't work. Called Forest River. Forest River said, oh, that's a Mercedes problem. Went to Mercedes. Mercedes said, we can take a look at it for free, but if we find that it's a Forest River problem, you have to pay for it out of pocket, and then have Forest River reimburse you. I called Forest River. Forest River said the same thing, but I got extremely angry, and whatever happened, Mercedes took care of it and billed Forest River directly. Comes to find out, the guy that worked at Forest River at Mercedes-Benz was awesome. I made friends with him, and it was a Forest River problem. It had something to do with the Pioneer system where the left blinker wouldn't work. However, because I was leaving the very next day to see my family, because I hadn't seen them, I hadn't seen my mom or my brother in 2 years, and I wanted to spend Christmas with them. It was on the 20th, and this happened the day before. He FedExed the product or the part in using Saturday delivery FedEx. Had me come back Saturday morning, got it installed, and I was able to leave for my trip. However, a couple things. One, it was a problem with Forest River, and two, he found out that the AC, where you control the AC, the direction of the fan and everything like that, he said, whatever you do, barely touch this. I'm barely touching right now because I just want to show you how it wiggles, but he said if you push too hard, this is going to break off and go inside, because Forest River never put, this was supposed to be mounted up on this inside, and they completely did not put any of the screws in. It's supposed to be mounted directly to this inside of this, the guy said, and he showed me, and he was correct, and Forest River completely missed all the screws. So he said, you have to be very careful touching this, or this is going to break and go in. And it's extremely loose. Okay, we spoke about the left blinker, and that was part of the Pioneer system. Oh, another thing on the Pioneer system, it's a DVD player. It's got some other features. None of it works. The only thing that works on it is I can connect my phone through Bluetooth to get the sound to go through it, and Mercedes was able to fix the blinker so that I would have left and right and rear camera on it. But you cannot play DVDs on it, even though you have the DVD player. And the app that goes with it doesn't work. All it does is says you have to turn on the emergency brake if you want to watch a DVD. I turn on the emergency brake. Spoke with Mercedes. They were supposed to put on some kind of emergency brake cable, and Forest River never did that. Okay, we're going to talk about why I need touch-up paint, but this was supposed to come with touch-up paint, and I never got any touch-up paint. Spoke with the Orlando RV, and they said they would order me some, but the guy who was their maintenance manager, I waited a week, called back, and I guess they fired him. And I have never got any touch-up paint. So I have no touch-up paint for my RV. When I got it, it came with one key. I was told that's how they were supposed to come. I called a Forest River dealership and found out you were supposed to get 2 keys. And I only received 1 key. Forest River said that's not their problem, it's Orlando RV's problem. Alright, so now let's go up on the roof. Okay, sorry about the shaky video, but I gotta climb up the ladder here with the camera. So, one of the things I did was I purchased a WeBoost antenna to increase my cell phone signal, and when I came up to install it, I found that the stitching on the awning is already coming off. And I've used the awning twice, and not even all the way out. It was at my brother's house. I can't put the awning all the way out at my brother's house, but it was raining, so I put it out maybe not even a quarter of the ways, just enough so that I could wipe the dogs down before they got in without getting wet. And that's all I've used, and that's already coming off. Okay, give me just a moment while I go back to my list here. Okay, let me show you the sunroof. As you can see, there's all that styrofoam that's inside the sunroof, and that's all the sealant. I would have to pull off all this caulking to get inside this and probably unscrew it to get that styrofoam off. One thing that my ex and my neighbor caught was that there's Dicor all over the roof, just splattered everywhere. And it's, I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, but it's just sloppy work. They said if you come over here, there's this. And my neighbor said he would have been extremely angry about that, because that is just absolutely sloppy. Okay, let me go back to my list here. Okay, so now let's do the outside down on the RV. So I'm going to go down the ladder here. Apologize again. Okay, so driving to Barstow, which was the other place that I went to after I got to my brother's house, which was the first campsite I ever went to, was the first time I actually experienced rain. And I found out the driver's side windshield wiper didn't work. It would just stay there while the left one would go. So I had to stop at a Flying J, buy a new windshield wiper, thinking it was just the windshield wiper. That didn't fix it, and what happened is inside here, and I apologize if you, let me see if I can, inside here is the bolt bolt was completely loose, and I had to use a special device to get down there. You can open the hood, but because of how it was done, I had to use a special device that a trucker had to get that tightened back up. It wasn't like a normal, it should have been just a normal wrench, but because of how it was broken inside, it didn't work. So right now it's working, now that I've got the new windshield wiper on it and have it fixed, but the bolt is all torn up on how we had to fix it to make sure it worked. So fingers crossed that'll keep working. All right, let me go down my list here. Okay. You know what? Let me just close the door here really quick. Oh, you know what? This wasn't even on my list and I forgot. The water tank, the what's supposed to hold it there, completely melted off and broke because it's right underneath the hot water heater. Here's the storage bay, and on almost all the storages, the weather stripping is coming off, which worries me on getting water inside the storage bay. And again, this is 4 months old. This is a brand new 2017 RV that's only 4 months old. Alright, so then here's the wet bay door. This was the first big pain too. You can see all the scratches that I did because I've broken it now, so it does open somewhat. But yeah, today's one of those days where it won't open. So when you go to dump your tanks at the gas station and there's people behind you and you're trying to get into your wet bay and it won't open, that's what it does. You have to take a screwdriver and pry it open, and that's how I get in, and that's why it's all scraped up, because it will not open. Sometimes I can put my knee on it but even that doesn't. So I don't know if it's the heating or the cooling, but yeah. Oh, that's the one other thing I wanted to show you that I forgot that's on my list. Again, this isn't a big thing, but it's just sloppy. The lock, they have the lock installed backwards. So this is supposed to lock it. Sorry, I dropped. Okay, I had to reset the camera there. So the lock is installed backwards. You turn it to unlock it, and it locks it. You turn it to open it, or I'm sorry, to lock it, and it opens it. Yeah, and that's the other thing. This one's also, compared to all the other ones, this lock is installed backwards too. So I just wanted to show that. No matter what, the wet bay does not open. Oh, I'm sorry, I had the camera turned the wrong way. So to show you, you can lock it, you can unlock it. No matter what you do, it doesn't open. Okay, I'm gonna get out my list here. All right, so this one makes me really angry. I was completely out of propane. It was snowing up in Idlewild and we needed heat. And the propane door, there's no lock on it, but the propane door is just like the wet bay door. It does not open. And I paid $150 for a guy to come out to get this thing open. Once he shut it again, it doesn't open, and it doesn't even close all the way. You can see the scratches that I made with the screwdriver trying to get this open, but it will not open. And I called Forest River. Forest River said, oh yeah, sorry, some locks just don't work. That happens. I've got 2 of them that doesn't work, and it's snowing, and I can't get propane. Now here's the next great thing. So when I got the RV, the propane tank, I went to fill it for the first time and had the same trouble with getting the propane door open. Got it open for the first time with a screwdriver. That's where the marks are from. Couldn't fill the propane tank. The guy tried and said that it is mounted too high and I wouldn't be able to do it at any propane center. So left the door open, went down the street to another one, said the same thing. Went to another place called CW Feed in Rancho Cucamonga. He owned a Forest River. It was the owner. The owner came out and said, there's absolutely no way. They mounted it too high. Called Forest River. Forest River said, yeah, some of them went out that way, and we have to lower it. So take it in and get it lowered. No hot water. Had to wait a couple days to get it in to this auto parts store to have it lowered. No hot water. Freezing cold. Remember, this is the winter time, and then here's the thing. When I got the RV, when I went out to take a look at it the very first time, it didn't have any propane in it. So the guy, the sales agent, Steve, had to turn on the AC. This was in Florida, so that I could walk through it to keep it cool. Then he said, when you come to pick it up in 2 weeks after we clean it all up, we'll have it filled for you. Had a full tank of propane when I left for Rancho Cucamonga. When I went to go to fill it, couldn't fill it. Comes to find out, they knew about that problem. They lowered the propane tank, filled it up, and then remounted it without ever telling me, without ever fixing it. The steps on the Mercedes, and I'm sure Forest River will tell me it's Mercedes' problem, but they're coming off, if you can see. I didn't do that in the beginning, it's just starting to do that, and it's on both sides. So let's go back in here. So here is a ton of screws. These are all the screws. Each time I make a trip, I always find screws down here. Have no idea where these screws have come from. But each time I make a trip, I always find new screws. Look all over to see where they have came from, but have no idea. These are just the screws so far on having it for 4 months that I have found throughout mostly down here on the steps or under the seat. So I just save them, and hopefully it's not something that is life-saving or something like that that would hurt while driving. Okay, so some of the other things that were broken that have been fixed was the hot water heater, the Atwood hot water heater. After using it for 4 days, completely died. Had to take it in to a place in Rancho Cucamonga. The control board was completely fried. They had to put a new control board in. Sent the control to get reimbursed. I had to send the control board to Forest River. It's been almost 2 months. Haven't received reimbursement for it. Propane tank, getting that lowered over 2 months ago. Haven't received reimbursement for it. The captain's seat under here, all the leather here was hanging down. Orlando RV had to fix that. They never placed it on the track, so all the leather was just hanging down underneath the captain's seat. I was supposed to get this within 4 weeks, but I got a call 3 days before it was supposed to be delivered that the RV was being returned to Mercedes because the engine light would not go off. The engine light kept coming on. So I got it 8 weeks later. And then this is just some nitpicking, but it's just ridiculous. It's like it never went through any kind of inspection. But if you look underneath the lights here, when you're sitting under the table and eating dinner, all you see is all these marks, these scratches, and these are all nails, and I don't know, I've tried cleaning this. It doesn't clean. It doesn't come off. It's all scratched into the wood. Scratches above the bedroom into the wood. Again, nail marks everywhere. Here, this is where the screen door is supposed to close, but the screen door doesn't work, so when my mom comes on the weekends to visit me, she comes from time to time, she gets claustrophobic in the bathroom because for her being 71, it's pretty small for her to change in there, so she likes to come out here and pull the screen door. Well, now that the fastening, I think that's what they call it, is coming off, one, it doesn't lock, and two, it never really locked in the first place. You can see they drilled a hole and it was the wrong place, and so they tried covering it up and put a new one in, and it kind of worked in the beginning, but now it really doesn't work since that's all coming off. Oh, and then here, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but I don't know what they did, if they scratched it or what, but there's like white paint marks all along this strip. That's different from that strip, and no other strip has that. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's not gonna hurt the RV, but it just doesn't look good. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but it's just odd. And the styrofoam in all the vents. The biggest ones are in the bathroom. There was styrofoam in all the vents that I had to pull out, but the styrofoam in the bathroom is the worst, and then hopefully that's what's in the heater, and hopefully that doesn't start a fire. Because this weekend, even though it's 71 degrees outside right now, this weekend we're supposed to get a little bit of snow and get down to 28 degrees, so I'm going to have to use the heater again this weekend here up in Idlewild, California. So that's it. That's everything on my list. The scary part is, what else is there that I'm not missing? What's underneath the RV that I don't know about? And then I can only get 4 things fixed at a time, or cut my trip short and go back to Orlando, Florida while I'm out here in California, so I can stay at my house, because I have the dogs with me. And Forest River said they won't pay for a hotel, but they'll reimburse me after we get everything fixed. We'll talk about reimbursement after we get everything fixed. We're going to talk about reimbursement before we get things fixed, and I am requesting, demanding, whatever word you want to use in the English language, I want a new RV. I am paying, this is over MSRP, over $100,000 RV. I am paying a monthly payment every month on this. This is supposed to be something that, this isn't just a $20 Amazon product. This is costing me almost $100,000, and then I'm supposed to just give it back to Giant RV and let them have it for the next 2 years to fix it while I make monthly payments on it? I don't think so. I've already contacted the general attorney in Florida, and I am requesting, demanding a new RV. I want a new RV, one that has went through inspection, one that's not going to do this, and this should never have ever happened to anyone in the first place. But this, I mean, I get that there should be 1 or 2 problems. Okay, fine. The siding, it comes off. Okay, one thing, big deal. So that's easy fix. We can fix that. But the flooring, the AC about to fall off. I can't barely touch to turn on the AC while driving because the screws are missing. Styrofoam up in the sunroof. This is it's just absurd. It's beyond not going through quality control. It was like it just completely skipped everything. So that is, I want a new RV. I'm demanding a new RV. I want this fixed, and I want to be compensated before these things get fixed. Thanks for watching. David Swanson.